Welcome to Future Talk. On today's program, we're going to talk about electric automobiles. Are they really going to replace gasoline cars? What's the state of the art right now? Our focus is on Tesla Motors. Based in Palo Alto, California, Tesla is the leading automaker that only makes electric cars. With me in the studio are my two guests. Ali Javedan runs the Prototype Vehicles Group at Tesla, and he played a key role in the development of the Tesla powertrain. He'll talk about Tesla's technology and its plans for the future. Greg Zangi is head of Tesla's service network, which includes 15 service centers around the world, plus mobile service teams that respond to service requests on the road. He'll talk about Tesla's customer support and the experience of owning an electric vehicle. We'll be getting to our discussion in just a few minutes, but first, we recently visited the Tesla showroom in Menlo Park, and we have some video from that visit. So let's go ahead and roll that tape. We recently visited the Tesla showroom in Menlo Park, where I spoke to Camille Ricketts, the communications manager. What is Tesla's purpose? Does Tesla have a specific mission beyond just selling cars?
Absolutely. Tesla Motors was founded in 2003, and really the mission behind the company was to make more and more electric cars available for the general public and to generally drive down the cost of electric driving for everyone. So the car company started with the Tesla Roadster, which is the sports car you see behind me, and in 2012 we're going to be moving on to the Model S sedan, which is going to be about half the price of the car. So we are really relentlessly driving down the cost of electric cars, making electric driving really available and possible for as many people as we can.
Now, Tesla has a lot of competition. You've got the big automakers, Ford, GM, Toyota. What competitive advantage does Tesla have that those other big automakers would have trouble matching?
Well, we're actually the only fully electric supercar in the world today. We were the first electric car in serial production on the road. So we have a huge lead when it comes to EVs. And there are several major manufacturers that are now moving into the electric space. And really the Roadster was the catalyst, I think, in a lot of ways for the industry to move in that direction. So we have even the big guys, the GMs, the Fords, following our example. Now that Nissan has launched the Nissan Leaf, now that GM has launched the Chevy Volt. You know, there is competition in the market, but we don't really see them as competition. We see them as sort of peers expanding the electric vehicle market. So we're excited to see EVs catch on no matter who's making them.
It takes a huge amount of capital to manufacture cars. Does Tesla have sufficient funding to get in the mass production market?
We are extremely well capitalized. We've gotten good, generous loans from the federal government in order to make electric driving, good, clean electric driving, more democratic for everybody. So we have millions of dollars at our disposal, and we feel perfectly confident that we'll put mass production into effect here in the next year and a half.
After the interview, Camille took us to an assembly room behind the showroom where Tesla Roadsters are put together by installing the battery and engine into a car body that's produced elsewhere. Here we are standing in front of one of the battery packs.
So what we call the glider, which is really the body of the car with everything except the battery, the transmission, and the motor, comes to us from England, the Lotus facility in there where Lotus builds that piece of the car, and then it's shipped here to Menlo Park. We build the battery packs and the powertrains up at our headquarters facility in Palo Alto, and those items are then shipped to the Menlo Park's location as well. And then the battery is actually jacked up into the body of the car, the powertrain is lifted in, we connect all of them electrically, and you know, you lower it, you reassemble the suspension, and you drive off.
So this is a battery right here. This large black object is the battery.
This is what it looks like outside of a car.
And that fits in the back of the car, and basically you just drop it in and fasten a few connectors and you're done. Is that right?
That's pretty much what you do, and it's a large black box. There's really nothing that you need to do to it to make it work, and it comes with a charge. And yeah, it's a heavy but extremely advanced piece of technology. I would say it's the heart of the Tesla Motors technology.
Okay, so this is the actual motor, right?
Right, this is what we call the drivetrain. It's comprised of two components here. We have the gearbox, which other people might call a transmission. It's a single-speed gearbox. And then on the other side of that, the cylindrical piece that you see right there is the motor. And it's a standard, well, not, I wouldn't say standard, but it is a improved upon AC induction motor, which is, of course, how Tesla got its name, because that was the signature piece of technology pioneered by Nikola Tesla in the 19th century.
And this motor was designed from scratch by Tesla itself?
It is. It's all designed, all engineered, and built by Tesla.
We also visited the service area, where I asked Camille what happens in a typical service visit.
Typical maintenance session really requires an update to the firmware, which is really an interesting disparity between the Roadster and regular internal combustion engine vehicles. A lot of what we do with this car, or a lot of what makes this car better, is software-based as opposed to hardware. So most of the time people come in, they inspect it to make sure that everything is working properly, and then they just update the firmware like you would your computer.
But as far as testing belts and drives and fluid levels, you don't really have to do that so much?
There's really not a whole lot of that to test. There's no oil involved in this car. The liquid-cooled battery pack lasts for years, so that's not really an issue. There's just not that many parts that you need to replace or worry about breaking down.
Is the battery expected to last the life of the car?
Well, that depends what you want the life of the car to be. Right now, the battery life is anticipated to be over 10 years. We do have a 7-year warranty on the battery, but that's really just a contingency. The cars haven't been around long enough for us to really know how long the batteries will last, but we have every reason to believe that over a decade of ownership.
How much does the battery weigh compared to the rest of the car?
That's a great question. The battery actually weighs close to 1,000 pounds, over 900 pounds, and the car itself weighs 2,700 pounds. So the battery is actually almost half the weight of the vehicle, and that's actually an advantage for the Tesla Roadster because that battery is over the back axle of the car, and since the Roadster's rear-wheel drive, that gives it a lot of stability and a lot of stiffness that it might not otherwise have. That was some of our footage from the Tesla showroom, and we'll have more footage a little bit later on in the program. Ollie, what would you say is the principal advantage of an electric car, aside from the fact that it's less polluting? Why would a car buyer choose an electric over a gasoline-powered?
Well, they're generally much more reliable because they have far fewer moving parts. They're also a lot easier to service, as you heard before. Service doesn't involve things like a timing belt or an oil change. Service involves just kind of an overview of the state of the chassis and the powertrain, and maybe a software update to the car. The car is exceedingly easy to drive on a daily basis. You don't have to worry about shifting if you have a manual car. You don't have to worry about warming the car up on a cold morning. You just get in and drive. For acceleration from stoplight to stoplight or through traffic, it's extremely effortless to just kind of give a little bit of pedal effort on the throttle, and you're zooming past 99% of the cars that are on the road.
Now, what's Tesla's long-term strategy? You're a new car company trying to compete with major car companies. How do you achieve that market penetration? What do you have to do to grab market share?
We have to consistently deliver higher quality and more advanced technology quicker than our competitors. We're able to do that because we are a highly vertically integrated company. We do everything in-house, from software to hardware to manufacturing, and that really helps us gain a competitive edge against other competitors.
How do you see the future of your battery technology? Because that's really the heart of the whole thing. Do you need order of magnitude breakthroughs to really get deep market penetration, or is this a slow incremental process of improvement?
I think the best way to move forward is the incremental improvements to the technology. Large kind of order of magnitude improvements tend to be less reliable, less safe. As you may know, safety is a huge thing for Tesla Motors, and especially our battery technology. And to make the incremental changes, we find that because we are already so far ahead of the rest of the the game. We were able to make these incremental changes, continue to be leaders, to create a safe, sustainable product.
Now, are other companies also working on this battery technology? Nissan has an all-electric sedan, the Leaf, which uses no gasoline. Do they have as many people working on batteries as you do, or I mean, how are you able to jump ahead of them?
I'm not sure how many people Nissan may have, but I know that we have a very dedicated, hardworking team of engineers and technicians that are continuously working. We have labs and tests that are going around the clock 7 days a week, 365 days a year to not only test our current battery technology, but also test and validate future battery technologies.
Now, do you also need a large infrastructure to charge the cars? One of the issues around electric cars is that they normally don't drive as far as a gas car on a tank of gas, and it takes a longer time to charge them. How do you overcome those difficulties?
Well, the great thing about our cars is that the charging unit is on board. It's on the vehicle. So rather than having off-board charging where you may need a special device that's plugged into a building somewhere, we can charge on anything from a standard home 110-volt outlet all the way up to a high-powered charger, 240 volts at higher current. We're also developing technologies to charge at very high rates to do a rapid charge, 45 minutes, for example, for a charge on a car.
Okay. And where do you think this is all going to go in the future? Do you think that gasoline cars are going to be a thing of the past altogether? Or do you think there'll always be a market share for that as well?
I believe at some point there will be a point where gasoline cars will be phased out. Whether it's for the environmental impact that gasoline cars have, or the cost of the fossil fuels that go into not only the gasoline but the oil and those consumables that gasoline cars use.
Okay, great. We're going to go along to the next segment of our program. I'll be speaking to my second guest, Greg Zangi, in just a few minutes. But first we have more video. We have a video of a Tesla bodybuilding facility, and we also have some more video from the Tesla showroom. So let's go ahead and roll that tape. Tesla is headed by Elon Musk, who founded the company in 2003. Mr. Musk is also founder and CEO of the SpaceX company, which builds space vehicles under contract to NASA. He previously founded PayPal, the online money transferring service that was later sold to eBay. In addition to the technology side of Tesla, there's also the marketing side. I asked sales advisor Mickey Sofer about that. Now, the cars in the showroom today, these Roadsters, are fairly expensive. What's your target demographic? What is the typical customer like?
So it's hard to say what our typical customer is like. We get people who are into the Roadster because of the environmental consciousness, because of the cool technology factor. We get a lot of people who are, kind of techie nerd geeks. We got a lot of people who are, just thought leaders in their field. They want to be the first one to jump into something like this and make a difference, make a statement. And of course, we also get the sports car fanatics.
Now, I understand that you're developing a different model for selling cars other than the traditional dealership format. What's your planned method for selling cars?
Yeah, that's right. We don't work with dealerships. So all of our stores around the world are owned entirely by Tesla. So when people come forward into the store, they know that they're being talked to and dealt with by Tesla-trained employees. No one's trying to swindle them. We're extremely transparent in our practices. No one's coming in to negotiate the price of the car because it's fixed. It's very much like buying a piece of technology more than it is buying car in the traditional sense. And I think it relieves a lot of the pressure that people get when they walk into a showroom. They feel like they need to be guarded, and we really want the buying experience to be enjoyable and comfortable for people, and for, especially the initial group of owners that we've had, they really become part of the Tesla family.
Do you think Tesla will always be a high-end car, always servicing the high end of the market, or will this be something that serves the entire market?
That's a good question. I don't know ultimately where we're going to end up. I know that initially when Tesla started, one of the big visions was to come out with a car like the Roadster that's going to get people excited about electric vehicles. And obviously, being a high-end car, it allows us to subsidize the cost of the R&D and allow our customers to step into a really great electric vehicle sooner. The proceeds from that are then going to fund a more mass market car, which we're coming out with in 2012, the Model S sedan.
That was some more of our footage from our visit to the Tesla showroom in Menlo Park. And I'm now speaking to Greg Zangi, who is head of the service department of Tesla Motors. Greg, I understand that Tesla has a slightly different philosophy of customer service than many other automakers. What is your approach to customer service?
It's a good question. The long and the short of it is that we want to have a relationship with our customer. We want to, I don't have my technicians working in the back and just having you come in and talk to our service managers or service writers only. All of my technicians have business cards, and there's a reason for that. Is because I want to have, like I mentioned before, that relationship with you. If you happen to have a technical question, you have an issue with your car, I want to have that relationship where you can call them, talk to them about what's going on, and they can take care of you immediately, that you have a name associated with your car. Also, that allows us to capture a lot of information from the customer, potential performance improvements that we can do to the vehicle, also if we see any sort of trends that we need to take care of.
Because this is still pretty new technology, right? So you want to monitor what happens to these cars on the road, so you can fix the bugs if there are any. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And you say that you have mobile road service as well if a person has a problem on the road. What kind of mobile service do you provide? I mean, you must be pretty spread out.
Well, honestly, about 75% of our customers live within about 50 to 100 miles of a Tesla store. That being said, that kind of leaves the 25% as being outliers in the U.S. As an example. That being said, there's a lot of information that we can garner from the car that allows us to take action. We can often take information from the logs and make a determination if we even need to visit the car, or and that if that's the case, a lot of the components we can go out there and replace on site at their home or their place of work.
What would be the most common reason for a road call? Would it be just the battery is out or something else?
I think the fundamental thing here is the Roadster is a car. It's a vehicle that doesn't make any compromises. And if you looked at it and you actually didn't know that the Roadster was electric, a lot of people just look at it as a vehicle. That being said, it behaves just like a regular vehicle. People get flat tires. Sometimes they get in little fender bender accidents. We've had a couple of people, that may have gone the distance on their pack state of charge, but it just behaves like a normal vehicle.
Can you give them a charge? I mean, would calling you be like a gasoline car owner calling the AAA? Get the same type of service?
No, the technology today isn't designed in such a way, but in the future, having that rapid charge like Ali touched base on, that has the potential.
Now, do you plan to install chargers everywhere, shopping malls, public places? Because the infrastructure has to exist.
Right, and that's a growing market. There's a lot of companies that are emerging here, not only in the Bay Area, but even some of the larger companies that are, as we built vehicles around the turn of the century, then we had to build gas stations, and then those would start to proliferate the market along with roads. And so the same thing is happening in the charging infrastructure neck of the woods, and we collaborate with those companies.
So if people buy the car now, they feel confident that the infrastructure will be there when they need it.
Yes,
basically.
Yeah, and it's growing. It's a sizable market that's going to be. This just got a tremendous amount of opportunity, and if you think of charging, you have to think of like Ali said, that the charger exists on the Roadster and within the Model S. And that being said, the charging infrastructure is just a plug.
How do you figure the efficiency of the car? In a gasoline car, it's miles per gallon. Here you don't have gasoline, so is it miles per kilowatt hour? How do you determine that?
Yeah, and that's precisely at miles per kilowatt hour. And imagine that you drive your car today, it may cost you $30 or $40 to fill it up. You could be looking at just a few dollars to charge the Roadster or the Model S.
Okay. We're going to go on to our third and final segment of the show in just a minute, but we have one more video from the Tesla showroom. In fact, this is a road test of the Tesla Roadster with me behind the wheel. Let's go ahead and roll that tape. After Camille demonstrated how the car is plugged in, we were ready for a test drive. And so now we're driving the Tesla Roadster, and we're learning a little bit about its characteristics. We're now going down Sand Hill Road heading toward 280. I noticed the suspension seems a little bit tight. We went over some bumps in the pavement and we definitely did feel them. But remember, this is a sports car. Oh, and here's the freeway coming up. Nice acceleration, gets up to freeway speed real quick. La 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 la, in my merry Tesla Roadster. So the handling is very similar to a regular gasoline car. The controls are very similar. It's easy to drive. Okay, so I enjoyed that. That was an enjoyable ride. I didn't take it very far. I didn't take it very fast, but I could see I could get the hang of that. But there's a number of other things going on with the technology. I've heard about this battery swapping technology where instead of waiting for a charge, you drive your car into a service station and they remove your battery and put another battery in its place that's fully charged. This model I drove does not have that. Does the next version, the sedan, have that?
So the Model S and future models will look at quick swap capability. So that's something that we are looking into and that we have initiatives that are behind that.
Okay. Now I understand that the battery would have to be configured differently, and since it's a lot of individual cells, you could pretty much configure it the way you want. My understanding was that the battery would be largely flat and under the undercarriage of the car, so you'd remove it from the bottom instead of pull it out.
Correct.
So is that a fairly accurate thing? And
yeah, I mean, the way the pack's designed, and probably Ollie can touch base on that, allows us a lot of flexibility in how we package it.
And would this be self-service? Could I drive in and press a button and it's automatically switched, or do I need a team of big burly guys to?
It'll be at some point or at some level automated. That at what level is still to be determined.
What would you say is the biggest problem that Tesla has to overcome in order to really make it in the marketplace? Your biggest roadblock?
Oh, that's a good question, but I don't think we're actually running into roadblocks right now. If you look at where Tesla was 4 or 5 years ago, and then you look at all the other OEMs that are starting to get into this business, the roadblock is kind of getting over this mindset that electric vehicles are sort of glorified golf carts. They're not. They're a vehicle that you can drive, you can put the family in, you can go to your local food co-op, fill up the back end, put a TV in, a surfboard, a mountain bike, and use it in everyday use. And so what we've done is taken this technology, proven the high performance. Now we can plug those into a variety of different solutions for people. And we've got a high performance car, but we're building a sedan. And we have partnerships of other types of vehicles that people can use.
I think the biggest roadblock would be actually getting the customer or the potential customer in a car and driving it. Once that happens, 99% of the time they're sold. It's not something that takes much selling or convincing. It's a really awesome experience to drive an electric car.
Now, will people drive this car because it's cool, or, I mean, like a lot of people just consider a car to be a utilitarian device to get them from one place to the other. Is there an image? Like, is Tesla positioning itself in the image market somehow? Like, you're cool if you have this car?
I don't think we have a position like that at all. I mean, whether you're looking at this to be a totally utilitarian tool, or you're looking at it to be an image vehicle, it's kind of doing both at the same time, because it is such an efficient machine and it works so well that you could just use it as a means from point A to point B and be efficient, be safe, be reliable, and at the same time, whether you want to or not, you can use it as a tool for an image. If you want to be the one that pulls up with the shiny car at the valet.
Now, I understand you've got some pretty big name supporters. Toyota, for example, you're partnering with them in their former NUMMI plant. Are there any other signs of confidence, from big companies?
Well, we have the agreement with Daimler also to supply battery technology for a couple of their vehicles. We have
So you might be licensing your technology to other car companies as well.
If the opportunity, if both parties agree to the opportunity, yeah.
Yeah. I think Panasonic has invested something in Tesla, hasn't it?
Yeah, Panasonic's made a sizable investment in, not only a monetary investment, but we're making kind of a more of a partnership in technology, it's proving to be a great asset for both companies.
Okay. I'm getting the signal that we're just about out of time, so we're going to have to wrap pretty soon. I'd like to thank my two very interesting guests, Ali Javedan and Greg Zangi from Tesla Motors. We learned a lot about electric cars today. It looks like with the cost and difficulties of getting gasoline, electric cars certainly have a lot of potential for the future, and I look forward to driving another one in the not too distant future, hopefully. Okay, we are going to wrap. This is Marty Wasserman. Be sure to visit our website at www.futuretalk.net. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next time.